It's been 84 years. I can still smell the fresh paint.
What are we doing?
Rehearsing.
Yeah, but for what is this?
We're doing a Titanic parody. I'm just going through my lines.
Can we do this? I mean, Riley, can we put him in whiteface?
I don't see a problem with it.
It better be. I've been sitting in fucking drag for 3 hours.
But the whiteface thing, it just seems like it's inverse of the black face where face of someone of color. I don't know if that's a good idea. Are we sure? Can we do this?
Yeah, we got rights
Okay.
now.
Go. Fine.
You against equal rights?
No, I'm not against. Of course, I'm not. Go for it, I guess. But just the other. Why Titanic? I don't. Why?
Because it's the whitest movie ever.
He's expanding his creative range.
Yeah, just look at me.
He looks great.
He looks good. Huh?
Fine. But here's the thing: you're reading the actual script. It's not a parody. You have to change it. You have to change the script.
We tweaked it.
Yeah, but why?
I'm the tweak.
But why are you dressed like? Why are you the old lady?
Because I got rights now.
You keep saying I don't know what that means.
He's trying to ruin my...
He doesn't get it.
I'm not trying to ruin.
get it.
You know what? Oh, fine. I don't. Whatever.
I look marvelous, don't I?
You do. You look fabulous.
Seen the Keith Titanic sketch?
Yeah?
This is gonna be a train wreck.
Huh?
I don't. What were you humming?
Oh.
I don't want that song in the actual thing.
Please.
I don't. Casey, I'm not joking.
I know what I'm doing.
I don't want it in the sketch.
Okay. Okay.
I know, but you're saying okay, but I think you're gonna try and put it in anyway.
Trust me.
I don't trust you.
It's not going in.
I hate my life. Remember, none of this is possible without you. Join the fight and sign up for MugClub today at louderwithcrowder.com/MugClub for $89 annually. Join the fight at louderwithcrowder.com/MugClub today.
Yeah. Got a new show for y'all. Got a damn good show.
My daddy, he's from Africa. What? Like black Africa? Yeah, he's from Zimbabwe. That place is a shithole. We talk about my reparations for my ancestors' pain and suffering. Yeah. It's time for me to get paid. Time to make us whole. Yeah. Damn, that's just gay sending me pictures of you flexing. Who do I look like? Justice Smollett? You gay as hell, man.
I don't do that they stuff. But just because you use they pronoun don't mean you can't talk trash about it. You know they's a dumbass.
You guys said that you voted for Obama at least the first time, right?
First time, second time, Mitt Romney.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's surprising. Because he's like the whitest guy ever.
He's pretty white.
I get a little scared being falsely accused of rape and dark sometimes.
I'm saying that MugClub might be even more necessary than ever because YouTube has become a liberal hole.
Oh, that's, why did I go? No, it's good. Sure. I don't know why I did that. Hey, I guess we should just usually do intros afterwards. We'll get into the topics, but since you saw the intro, I think you probably know who is, if you hear this music, in third chair today. Their show is going to launch here on MugClub and, of course, Rumble. Hodgetwins Uncensored in October at Conservative Twins. Keith and Kevin Hodge, how are you, brothers?
We're doing great. Thank you for having us.
Can I say brother? I can say brother. I
say
say
it,
brothers
right?
to everyone.
You
but
my
then
brother.
I say it, and then I specifically don't say it to black guys. All the time. I'm like, hey, and then I open the door for a black guy quick trip the other day, and he said, thanks, man. I said, oh, it's no problem, bro.
Yeah, you do it in a cool way. I just hate it when, white people, as soon as they come in, always, hey, what's up, my brother?
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah. My mom does that.
Yeah?
She's French-Canadian, and so it's my brother.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? What are you saying? One time there was a black man playing piano in a black turtleneck. Good-looking guy, kind of looked like Tate Diggs. And he was playing the piano, did a beautiful rendition of Oh Holy Night. And then my mom, when she was leaving, there was a black usher also wearing a black turtleneck. And she's like, hey, brother, you did great on the piano. And he was like, okay, thank you. All right. So we have a lot to get to today. The burning man has turned into, well, the lesser man, the drowning man. And we're going to be talking about Elon Musk. Is he the savior that some people on the right have propped him up to be? Or, is there some good and some bad, duality, as they call it in screenwriting, or, people who take humanities for the first semester in college. We'll get into kind of the pros and cons. And something that I really want to talk about today, hopefully this is a reference piece so you can use it. The references are available at loudwithcredit.com. Suicide in this country we often talk about mental health. We often talk about needing to help people and not stigmatizing people who need help. But suicide is almost exclusively a white male problem, not including, the transgender statistic notwithstanding, but that's less than 1% of the population.
Right.
But compared to white women, compared to women in general, compared to black men, compared to black people, brown people, Asian, white men commit suicide at an unbelievable rate. If we want to solve the suicide problem, we need to start acknowledging why white males, specifically white middle-aged males, are committing suicide in record numbers. And why do you think that is? Comment below, and then we'll have the segment here coming up later in the show. But I think it's an important one. All right, Gerald A., number 2. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm glad you came back to me. I thought you might skip over me.
Well, because you're a white man, I thought I would look over and just be dangling feet in a noose.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, well, I wonder why they commit suicide at such a high rate.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's okay. Go deal with your vertigo.
That was not fun.
I know. You get the vertigo
and
on the
I hate
weekends.
you too as well.
Yeah.
Not you, but you too.
Yeah. I still have their album on my iPhone. I don't know how to get rid of it.
It just comes with the phone.
I know. It's disgusting.
Makes me want to burn the phone.
It's so quadruple platinum. Well, that's because you forced it on our phone. All right. Big U2 fans, Keith, Kevin, you guys, you good? You ready? You excited for your show to be doing there on the MugClub?
Yeah, because, believe it or not, we kind of censor ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, I want to say a lot more.
I'm taking the knot.
Yeah, I want to say a lot more. Like, this picture came out on Twitter of this like a sex change operation. Mm-hmm. It was a penis. Mm-hmm. It looked like it looked like it had stitches in it. It looked like a Louis Vuitton bag.
Yes.
And we wanted to talk about that on YouTube, but I'm sure they would have hit us with a strike.
Right.
Yes.
Because it's nudity, even though it's just patent leather.
Right. Yeah.
Just a fake It's not even real.
You
can't show that. You just show. No, it's fake.
Yeah. You couldn't even go with top grain leather.
No.
Yeah.
A nice Goodyear welt.
Yeah. So, but you guys are going to talk about that. Your first show is going to be what, Thursday the 5th, I believe, in October.
Yeah, we're going in detail on that.
Yeah. So,
and then I know you guys, because also you have to censor with Patreon, all that. So all that will be migrating under the umbrella where you don't have
everything.
Yeah.
So you'll still you'll get kind of like what we do, where you get a portion for free and then a portion in MugClub.
Yep.
Right? So you'll get that with them as well. So I'm looking forward.
So stay posted because we're not
tuned. Stay tuned.
We'll keep you posted. You stay tuned. Keep luck. Perfect. Name that reference. But it's one of we're never looking to take away free. Always more free content, plus even more for those of you who are members at MugClub, loudwithcredit.com/MugClub. None of this happens. There is no free content if you don't join the fight. And we have the investigative journalism unit doing a lot too. All right. First story of the day. It's a pick-me-up. This Algerian migrant, this went viral yesterday, I guess, in Sweden. And here's the thing. Before we show this clip, there seem to be multiple points. People use the term de-escalate. And by that, I mean you could, by killing said migrant here who's trying to kill his ex-girlfriend in Sweden. And he actually gets close. So he's telling him that he's coming up there to kill his ex-girlfriend.
Crazy.
He's holding his hand out like it's a tiger shark. Push the ladder. Kick him in the face.
Yeah. It's a long fall.
Han högg mig med en kniv.
No.
Han högg mig med en kniv. Han högg mig med en kniv, en stor köttkniv.
Why are you...
What? Got a knife.
Du, han krossade glaset med en sten.
Yeah. Now, see, here's the thing. If you have a gun, that's a non-issue. Firearm. That's why I'm pro-Second Amendment, because I don't believe that men like that should be wasting oxygen. Would prefer that he assume room temperature. The guy stabbed his Swedish ex-girlfriend's male friend then at that point with a large kitchen knife.
In the neck?
Yeah, and
he
by
was
the way,
going for the kill.
It's not like it was concealed.
No.
I mean, he grabbed the Michael Myers knife.
That guy's definitely liberal. Let him go.
I know. Please, can we talk about this? Can we talk about this? No.
Sure.
Smurgy. Look, just push the ladder.
Yeah.
Push and do it slowly so he has time to think about his mistake.
You're like, oh!
And if he gets up, do it again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Until he learns.
For crying out loud.
I hope he falls on that knife, though.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, well, he would fall on that knife in my hand.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the guy, by the way, jailed for 2 years. That's it.
Just 2 years.
Yeah.
That's it? Attempted murder?
Yeah, and by the way, he also said that he would, quote, open up the victim and rape her mother. This was a horrible, horrible person. This is why pacifism... Hey, if you're not willing to fight for the woman who's there in that apartment, or maybe she had escaped at that point, if you're not willing to kill to protect your own life, and by the way, at this point, you don't need to kill him. You just push the ladder over, and the death is incidental.
Yeah. It's accident.
Whoops.
People see that as progress?
No.
Well, some people on the left do. It's like, can't we solve this through non-violent means? Now, picture that. Only picture psychotherapists and social workers going out instead of police officers. Now you have defund the police.
Well, exactly. Now that guy's eating through a straw for the rest of his life because he's like, no, man, don't break the window. He didn't even get a knife. He kept recording. I'm like, seriously, you're doing this for social media clout?
Yeah, you clearly have a free hand.
Down.
He chose to film it.
I know. I see that large knife. They'll know.
You're on camera. You're on camera. I'm going to show the police. Show them. Good luck. Good luck calling them and having them arrive before I stab you in neck. No, you don't stab in neck. I stab in neck. Oh, no. It's Mr. Stabbin Neckerson. I didn't recognize. Play it again and just see the different. Let's just see the different entry points where you could eliminate this man here in the United States. All right, let's watch. Okay, so right away, you don't know. Maybe he's doing some roofing. Oh, now he's making the threat. Okay, throw something down or at least shoot him. You could just drop a heavy knife.
Yeah. Just piss on him. He'll leave.
Grab him by his receding hair, throw him down, kick him in the face.
Push him down there.
Yeah.
Kick him in the face. Shoot him.
No.
Ow! And now the guy backs up. The guy backs up like, oh, he hit me. I better let him come up.
Look at this.
Now, bang, 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 bang. Fan the hammer.
Man.
This is why we've done those campaigns. Horror movies wouldn't be horror film without if you just had a Walther.
He had the advantage.
I know.
Why did you back up?
I know, man.
He had literally the higher ground.
Yeah.
He had the only ground.
He let himself get stabbed.
In the neck. It's a miracle that he's alive.
And this is why when people say, you want a violent gun culture? No. I want a culture where there are far more headlines that read, would-be rapist, would-be murderer, killed by woman with firearm. Because that, by the way, could just as easily in that video be a woman who's completely defenseless. That's who he was after.
Yeah.
People say, oh, it's a trope. The only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Okay, I'll give you that. The only thing that stops a bad Algerian migrant with a knife is anyone with a gun.
That's true. Even your gay friend who can't protect you while recording.
Oh, especially gay friends with these migrants.
I mean, she needs a...
If this guy had his way, it'd be raining men in Sweden for about a week. All right. It's a live show, by the way, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, here on Rumble. You can be watching on YouTube. Of course, the Hodgetwins just said they sometimes self-censor. So we do have the YouTube dump button. If you're watching on YouTube and you at any point see this, that means head on over to Rumble because we're not going to self-censor.
But go like 5 seconds to that music. It's nice.
Yeah.
And then go.
Yeah, and then go.
It's soothing.
It is.
Yeah.
Especially if you have a man climbing a ladder up to your balcony to murder you and your family.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm watching Louder with Crowder.
Good Lord, do I hate Europe. All right. But hey, we're not without our flaws here in the United States.
Fair.
Right? Which brings us to Burning Man. So
Why
this
did he call
year's
it that?
because they burn a man.
Well, not a real one.
They burn it, yeah, in effigy.
Well,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they burn a man.
rules against that
it's
now.
a stupid look. And if you like burn, I get it. If people want to go and have fun, I don't care. Okay, but this year's Burning Man festival kind of ended on a sour, wet note after these torrential rain pours swept its Black Rock. I think Black Rock City, the desert in Nevada, and it's almost like God's flood washing away the modern equivalent of filthy hippies. But there's a little more to it. Here's a clip.
After 2 days of heavy rainfall left more than
that guy naked?
70,000 trapped in thick mud in the middle of the remote Nevada desert.
Driving a vehicle right now is impossible. There is absolutely
Because you have
way
no
can move
peripheral
a vehicle
vision with your
through this
wrestling
right now.
costume?
Drone video of people who came for the normally sun-soaked Burning Man festival, but extreme weather intervened. This video taken just a short time ago as the revelers were making their way out of the Black Rock Desert in Nevada.
Someone who tried to escape burning.
jeez.
How does it get that deep? It's like he had to deal with a superhero like Mudman. Just you'll never get out of this shitty desert, especially because you're on E. Now, no laughing matter. 1 death was reported. That's sad.
That's
obviously
really
it's terrible.
Yeah.
And the exodus from the desert began yesterday, where everyone is now leaving the desert, and what sucks because they missed the grand finale.
Oh, no, not the beast! Not the beast! Ah! Oh, my eyes! My eyes! Ah!
I don't know why. I don't
really
know why
bad.
people drive out for that.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
It seems illegal.
Yeah. By the way, did they bring up mission control? There are these like shrimp growing there in the mud in the desert that come up from the salt
said
flats.
that,
Yeah,
and
it's like these. They look like shrimp, but they're not shrimp. These little hatchlings. Someone can send them in the chat right now where
That
they're
is
growing.
neat.
Yeah. It could just
What
be. It
in
could
the
just be.
hell?
It could just be falling crabs, and then they just. I have no idea.
What
But there
level
are
of
bugs
plague are we
growing out
talking
of the
about?
mud. How you doing, Yakuza?
Casey loves that.
I want to vomit.
Yeah.
I've got the hot mouth right now.
So here's the thing, Burning Man.
I got the hot mouth right.
I'm fine. I'm sorry.
It's guided by desert shrimp, salt flat shrimp, salt flat hatchlings.
Stop it.
Bananas.
Burning Man is guided by 10 principles. You were asking me what is Burning Man, which is, by the way, it's a very black question to ask. It's less than 1% of attendees are black people.
Yeah, I can see why.
Yeah, well, because I think black people aren't into, like doing the whole camping thing because enough of them are already homeless.
Ooh.
And white people. And veterans.
Unfair.
No, black people don't like camping.
No, I know.
Black people like glam.
Just
For crying
not
out
for
loud.
that
Why would they
reason.
want to act like a homeless person for the weekend?
Yeah, they like bling.
Yes, exactly.
Here's the shrimp. We got
You got the shrimp?
Bring it up. Good.
Bring it up.
9. Oh, what? That's
Yeah,
not
see,
real.
it gets out of that skin.
That's not a shrimp. That's something
I'm just
else.
calling it desert shrimp.
It's science.
Is that real?
That's real.
It's the chicken of the Burning Man salt flats.
That's real?
Yes.
It's manna from heaven to
Yes,
those.
exactly.
Yeah, that whole area was underwater one time.
Oh my God! Why are you throwing this up?
Oh!
Look at those.
What the hell is that?
That's what's growing out of the mud.
That looks like that movie Life where that thing was so small.
Yeah, yeah.
Look, we found life.
It killed everybody.
Yeah. That is so weird because it's just like a desert. And then as soon as all that was underwater, it's like.
Yeah, because of mud. I think they probably live, and then I don't know what happens to the water. But Burning Man is guided by 10 principles, which is kind of funny, including radical inclusion, decommodification, leaving no trace, and by the way, self-reliance, though it's pretty tough to do once there's a slight drizzle. And I get it. Look, obviously these people should have fun. But here's the thing. Elon Musk did say that Burning Man is Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley is Burning Man because they want to act like they're going out in this bohemian atmosphere of artists. And the tickets are like $575 per person, $140 per vehicle. But there are 5,000 low-income tickets offered at $225 each.
I'm one of those low-income people.
Yes.
Do you have a special badge you have to wear?
Well, here's the thing. When it's based on this inclusion and utopian ideals and community, why were they so unprepared? You can comment below. Either there's a windstorm every year, or occasionally you get rain. But it's kind of prepare for one of the two.
Did you see the ones where there were the fire tornadoes?
Yes.
Basically came up. That wasn't this year. I think it was last year or something like that. But I was like, how do you not see this as a sign from God?
Yeah.
Fire, tornadoes, now a flood. What firstborn is that next? Like,
Yes.
what do we do here?
Yeah.
I half expected Howie Long to show up. Firestorm.
Everybody kind of chuckled like, I'm waiting.
Remember that
to get
movie,
the reference.
Firestorm? Howie Long?
Yeah, it was terrible.
That was his only action movie ever. Like, hey, you're buff and you can. Oh no, you can't act. Now,
By the way, before we move on, that last principle, leave no trace. How does that work with dead bodies?
Yeah,
I just want to know what your policy is.
Yeah. Well, it's it goes back to the earth. It's biodegradable.
Yes. Recycling.
That's where I'd love to dump my Algerian migrants. That's where I would.
It was just some specific knife wielding.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I wouldn't leave the ladder. I respect Mother Earth.
That's true. Yeah, that won't recycle.
Speaking of which, let's go into Elon Musk here. So I do have a question for you. Do you think that Elon Musk is what percentage? Put a percentage on it as far as good based, freedom loving versus bad, maybe still kind of maintaining some bad tendencies or habits from before. I think he's a mix. So we're going to do a segment here right now, good Elon, bad Elon. Now, I'm glad that he took over Twitter.
Yeah.
Not necessarily thrilled with the people who are running Twitter who aren't necessarily him. So let me first set this up with this clip. The ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, by the way. I'm just going to say ADL here today. The ADL spokesperson, Jonathan Greenblatt, he was sort of, I guess you should say, browbeating Twitter, calling them out for allowing the spread of, quote, hate on his platform. Here is the lesser Xavier brother.
But this is Linda Yaccarino, the new CEO of X, formerly Twitter, just 8 hours ago, posting the following. She says, free expression and platform safety are not at odds. Is that true? Is that possible?
That certainly seems to contradict what we're seeing on almost all of these services. Now, look, they announced their reorg at X yesterday, and now Linda is in charge of trust and safety. That's a good thing because she understood how to handle these issues, I believe, at NBC Universal. But the truth is that what we're seeing on Twitter, X, today is really alarming.
Really, it's alarming, the lesser Xavier. Well, that's the style that he's going with, too. He really is trying to go for the Charles Xavier, just rolling in like, how much I'm sensing white men on a platform. This must end.
Thanks, Chip.
I've never seen any hate on Twitter. Not one.
Yeah,
Not
really?
once. Nope.
No.
Oh, wow.
Look, it's part of, and I don't, by the way, that's why we say it's a live show Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m., and we make all the references available. I am telling you, I think that social media, just like porn today in the digital, is horrible for your brain. I don't like the scrolling algorithm culture where everything is 10 seconds. Yes. That's not good for kids, just to be clear. We used to sit down and watch television at a certain time, and they would say TV would rot your brain. Turns out that wasn't the case. TV actually expanded imagination, certainly films. But you would sit down, set a time, and pay attention. Now people are watching television while they're on their phones scrolling for something more interesting, and it's never as interesting as you hope that it will be. And so you need a new app because Facebook wasn't enough. And so you need Twitter, and then you need Instagram, and then you need TikTok, and then you need Snapchat. We literally whittled it down where people are like, nah, YouTube won't work, and Twitter, well, the video's now 140 characters. No, we need 4 seconds for TikTok. And I get that that's a gross exaggeration, but actually not. It's a slight exaggeration.
Pretty close.
Yeah, pretty close.
It's like a vine.
So let's get into X. Sorry, Twitter. I'm going to misspeak on that. Here's good Elon. Okay.
We didn't preview that one.
So this weekend, Elon Musk, he went on a crusade against the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, for killing Twitter's ad revenue. Here are some of the tweets where he said, since the acquisition, the ADL has been trying to kill this platform by falsely accusing it and me of being anti-Semitic. Our U.S. advertising revenue is still down 60%, primarily due to pressure on advertisers by the ADL. That's what the advertisers tell us. So they almost succeeded in killing X or Twitter. And just to be clear, I can tell you this from firsthand experience. That is absolutely true. So when people say, oh, you're free to say whatever you want, it's not a violation of the First Amendment if the government isn't doing it. Well, first off, that brings us to Section 230, and these companies receive massive tax breaks and outright subsidies from the government. But even worse than that is when you have cancel culture is not just about someone saying something and people being offended. It's about people in power like the ADL or like the companies that advertise on YouTube and Google. By the way, largely ABC, Disney, and ABC, Disney, NBC, Universal, I get them always confused. There's Comcast, Time Warner, so they get to dictate what is permissible and what is not. When people get together and declare what you say offensive, so they get to shut off the advertising revenue, even though the audience doesn't find it offensive, that's when you have effectively what is a big tech oligarchy in bed with the government. And that's why we've done MugClub. We don't make a dime off of YouTube, to be clear, off of the Google advertising on these videos. It's entirely funded by viewers like you and a couple of sponsors, because it's not about people being offended. It's about advertisers putting pressure so that they can remove what they don't like. Tucker Carlson should have been making the most amount of revenue on Fox News humanly possible. He wasn't. Not because of the audience, but because of the advertisers and ESG and BlackRock and Vanguard. It's not market forces when it's beholden to international governing bodies.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that Elon got right early on. He said we have to go away from this advertiser-centric model, because if you do stay with that model, you're always going to be beholden to advertisers. And so it is, the government's a big enough problem by itself, probably the biggest problem. Right there, though, is advertisers getting together and basically saying, hey, we're just going to remove money. Yeah. Go create your own thing. Fantastic. Nobody's going to advertise on it. None of the big players, at least, right? You're going to have to go and get all these other people. That's why you have to move away from that. That's why MugClub exists.
Right. Well, I can tell you a lot of conservative companies aren't allowed to advertise at all.
I know.
They're just barred from it. I've been on both sides where we, at one point, made revenue on YouTube, and then I also tried to advertise. And they said, no. Well, wait a second. I'd like to advertise on these conservative channels that you're telling them that no advertisers want to advertise. I say, yeah, but we can't actually do that kind of targeting for you. I go, oh, okay, but you can do Drag Queen Story Hour on Ben Shapiro's YouTube channel? I'm just saying that whatever. They're never matched up properly.
It wasn't Ben's fault, but still.
No, of course. There's nothing. I'm just saying.
I know you weren't saying that.
They if you allow liberal companies, leftist companies, international conglomerates, you allow them to advertise, and you don't allow the right-leaning mom and pop, well, then all of a sudden you can say, there's no revenue in conservative content. It's not true. There are more of you than them. There are just more of them in positions of power, and it's really easy to grease those palms when you work for government. By the way, that includes Republicans, because they want to be permanent hires there in the government. So Elon, by the way, even threatened to sue the ADL. He said, if this continues, we'll have...
Hold on. Is this Elon saying that? I can't quite hear.
You want me to do that, Elon?
I don't know. It doesn't sound like Elon.
I don't really... So if this continues, we will have no choice but to file a defamation suit, ironically, against the Anti-Defamation League. And if they lose the defamation suit, we will insist that they drop the anti part of their name, since obviously, well, I don't think it's obvious, but
that's enough. You don't have to do any more.
Yeah. And is he doing this? I know what you might say, for the Jews, because according, by the way, to Musk, the ADL even specifically pushed to shut down accounts like Libs of TikTok. Of course, Haya runs that over there, and is of the Jewish persuasion. I don't know how to say it where it doesn't sound anti-Semitic. It feels like Jew sounds anti-Semitic, even though it's like she's a Jew. But I mean, she's Jewish. She is Jewish. She's very open about being Jewish, and I think they're banning her because she's a Jew.
I think Media Matters is going to clip that.
Damn Jews.
Let's just go with Uden.
We meant it in a good way.
So Elon even agreed that Libs of TikTok, that releasing communications between X, Twitter, and the ADL would be in the public interest at this point. Hey, we need to know what's going on. Right? He said, great point. A giant data dump would clear the air. Well, just do it then. Just do it. And here's the thing. You guys need, if you don't know about the ADL, there's a Southern Poverty Law Center, the ADL, and they determine everything on big tech as far as what is, there's community guidelines, there's advertiser-friendly guidelines, and then there's borderline content guidelines. And this is when we were always on the phone with someone at YouTube.
Fault.
That was my fault. They created it because of me after the Vox apocalypse. I apologize. You can admonish me, Tim. I didn't mean to, but they said we didn't violate community guidelines, and I said that's fine. You don't have to. We don't expect to make money anyways. So they said we're going to create new borderline guidelines, and then it became a game of cat and mouse. But now we're on Rumble. We don't care. So a big part of what determines that is Southern Poverty Law Center, ADL, these organizations who, by the way, file large evangelical Christian churches as hate groups. Yeah. Just to be clear as to how extreme they are. And the ADL themselves, they changed their definition of racism, which I didn't know you could just change definitions until...
Apparently, it's happened a lot
the last 5 years. Yeah.
It's science.
They changed it specifically after the George Floyd incident. So this is pre-July 2020. They described racism as the belief that a particular race is superior or inferior to another, and that people's social and moral traits are predetermined by inborn biological characteristics. Well, that makes sense. That is racist, to believe that you are better than someone else just because they're born black.
Right.
I think we all agree. Or born white. And by the way, it's not racist to say that if you look at me, Keith and Kevin, I'm likely slower.
No, I seriously doubt that.
Well, no. Well, not if we're in a pool.
Yeah.
Now, it's absolutely true. It's the build of the calves and the thing.
Yeah. So, hey, I got white man calves too, you know.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, well, see, I don't know how that
works. Yeah, you got white man swimming ability. Yeah, I got the black man swimming ability. Swim like rocks.
I just found out.
Steve, help! Steve,
I found out this weekend that I couldn't float when I was swimming with the little ones. I was like, man, I said to my dad, I said, I'm really, really bad at treading water. I used to be a great swimmer. Mm-hmm. My dad goes, well, take a big, deep breath and, just hold the breath and take shallow breaths. So I took a big, deep breath, and then I sunk so quickly that my foot made an impact. I realized I have a bunch of metal in my body.
Oh, yeah.
I completely forgot.
Hey, how'd you forget that?
Put a couple pounds of titanium in your pocket. And I was like, oh, okay. So I was very hungry. So this was a definition, again, pre-July 2020, the belief that a particular race is superior or inferior to another and that people's social and moral traits are predetermined by inborn biological characteristics. Now, after George Floyd, they switched the definition of racism, the ADL, to the marginalization and or oppression of people of color based on a socially constructed racial hierarchy that privileges white people.
Oh, there it is.
White doesn't even make sense.
No, it doesn't. It's funny, too, that they said that a socially constructed racial hierarchy that privileges white people after we had a black president. It would have made more sense if they changed it the other way after Barack Obama.
Yeah, race is a social construct. Won't they just abolish race?
Yes.
If they want to go against racism. And that definition is so ambiguous, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
It can mean anything.
And it just assumes that it privileges white people. And I don't know. We'll get into that segment a little later. Whites, we die at work, and if we don't, we kill ourselves in record numbers. White males, it's not even close. Not even close. Sounds like a lot of privilege. Hey, you guys getting a lot of alimony? Me too. Male privilege. By the way, smash the Rumble button here while you're watching, because I don't really know if we need people to smash the Rumble button. It's a like button on Rumble now, right?
Well, it's a thumbs up.
Okay,
button.
it's a thumbs up.
Yeah, here it is.
He just wants to keep the original.
This feels like an after-school special.
Ooh.
Yeah, look at that.
Well, not yours, Yakuza. Yours would be to take drugs. Now.
Yeah, well.
So that was good, Elon, fighting back with ADL. But let's go to bad Elon. And there's good and bad.
Can we do that again? Hold on, bring that back up. Do it. Listen.
Is that a wild boar?
Sounds like
yeah, I guess.
Is that the World of Warcraft thing? Anyway. So everyone has good and bad. But I've said this before, like when Kanye came out his gospel album, I said, look, I'm really glad that he seems to be, but don't give him more of a platform than he's able to handle. And I think that Elon is a little bit, he kind of, he kind of went a little too.
Yo, next going to show he took too far.
Although it was the most fun week.
I love Hitler.
No, he's quoting.
I think you mean to do it as irony, right? You're doing this as performance. Like, no, I am a Nazi, huh?
Oh, Lord, I'm getting canceled.
I'm definitely not getting back on Twitter.
It was so funny. He made Alex Jones feel uncomfortable.
I know.
That's hard to do.
Which is hard to do, yeah.
Yes. They were treating Kanye West the way that we all treat Alex Jones on our shows. So, Elon, right, his ex, also announced at this exact same time, good that they're fighting back on the ADL, but they're also going to be collecting users' biometric data.
Oh, boy.
X, formerly known as Twitter, is going to collect my biometric data?
Yeah, so when this story broke last night, the immediately obvious question was how? How are they going to do that? So I've spoken to X this morning, and this is what the company told me. First of all, this is only applicable to premium users, those that pay the subscription. What they're going to offer you the chance to do is submit a government-issued ID with a selfie, a picture. That will be used for two-stage verification.
I hate everything about that phrase.
The government-issued ID where the biometric data will be extracted from.
Is it considered domestic terrorism if I send the government just a stool sample?
Allegedly.
Everything about that phrase. You need to send a government-issued ID for two-point biometric authentication process. Everything about that is terrifying.
Yes.
Yeah. What's the purpose, though?
It's two-step authentication. It's just to make sure your account is secure.
Yes.
It's for your
So they'll collect things like
for my protection?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Fingerprint data, iris scans. They'll also collect things like education history, work history. And here's the problem, right? Let's say that Elon Musk, and this is my issue here, is I think that he wants to do the right thing, right? I think he's a little bit immature, somewhat in his political beliefs, in his persuasions, but I think that he's developing nicely, and I do think that he champions freedom. I do think he genuinely cares about free speech, so I generally like him. But this could very easily and most likely will change hands at some point, right? He's probably not going to be the primary owner of Twitter in the future. And now they've collected your fingerprints, they've collected your iris data, they've collected your education history, your work history, and someone else comes in, let's say like a Jack Dorsey. I mean, we've seen stranger things, right? Dave Portnoy sold his company, Barstool, for I think $500 million, got it back for $1. These entities change hands. It just takes falling in the wrong hands once. And oh, by the way, we also know that the FBI has communicated with Twitter in the past. We also know that, of course, not Karine Jean-Pierre, but Psaki at one point was calling on Twitter to ban conservatives. You make it that much easier when you have basically our DNA samples.
Yeah.
And that is a scary thought. And do you think the good outweighs the bad? By the way, this is right in line with what Elon said. He spoke about this. I think we have a clip where he wanted to make X, Twitter.
It's hard to say in a sentence.
Yeah. He wanted to make it the American version of WeChat.
We don't even have an app that's as good as WeChat in China. And like in China, you can like live on WeChat basically
because you have to.
He meant to say
everyone's like that. Like you live on WeChat, you do payments, you do everything. It's like it's great. Basically, WeChat's kick ass, and we don't have anything like WeChat outside of China. So
good.
It's like my idea would be like, how about if we just copy WeChat?
Yeah, hold on a second. We also don't have like a social credit score system that resembles Black Mirror. So that's what I don't see enough of from Elon, the challenging of China. And I think that's because it's a huge market for him. It's important for him. He wants it to be like WeChat. We'll do a whole other segment on WeChat. I do not want us to be like WeChat. My general rule is if crazy communist China is doing it one way, that we should consider the other direction.
At least for a minute?
Yeah.
I mean, how is it not possible for him to see that? Because he knows about the issues that they've faced in China with WeChat and being able to bar people from travel and being able to make sure they can't get loans or bank accounts or have to distance from friends because they have bad ideas, and that's going to lower your credit score socially. Like, how does he not know all of that exists and say, hey, we want all of the good things of WeChat, none of the bad, so we're not going to collect all that data?
Yeah, it's based on the bad things, though. That's the problem. It's based on the bad thing.
At least with X, you have to pay for the privilege of them gathering all that information. Yes, exactly. So that's good.
Yeah. No, you take
kind of deserve it at that point.
I guess we do.
Yeah. Crap. Kind of like if you don't tip the ladder of the Algerian migrant saying, I'm coming to kill you, it's on you at a certain point.
Yeah.
Once he punches you in the face, you're like, well, I deserve that.
He did say he was going to stab me, and, I held my hand out like I was I had psychic powers like I was Jean Grey, and instead he just stabbed straight through my hand. And now I regret this. So let's be like WeChat. Yeah, let's follow. You want to follow China's lead? Let's do it when COVID inevitably spikes again.
That's nuts.
That's effective.
What the hell's going on?
Locking them in their apartments.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Oh, there they come.
That's a poorly constructed door.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Screams for joy?
Nope.
Oh, my God.
Well, we'll start with the Democrats if we do that. Now, and here's the thing, though, when people talk about, with right now, there's some very Asian neighborhoods around here, like entirely Chinese neighborhoods, entirely Indian neighborhoods. I see people all the time right now driving with face shields, Asian Americans, face shields in their own car. This is something that needs to happen.
By themselves.
Yes. You're so stupid. Yeah. By themselves. And I will say this, and you can comment, I don't care if you say this is racist. I don't give a rat's ass. They come from a country, meaning places like China, and by the way, even places like South Korea, where control from the government is fine, right? Subservience to the government is a part of how it works.
Right.
And it's a culture of fear. That needs to take place. If you're going to come to this country, there needs to be some portion that's taught, not only with your oath, not only with civics, but hey, and by the way, we don't give up our freedoms here.
No.
We do not give up our freedoms in the name of security. People who will wear a face shield alone in the car. That is not, by the way, that is not someone following the science at all.
Yeah.
At all. Fauci even said that the data was murky on masks, by the way, in crowded spaces. Face shields alone in your own car. No. The science is in it. That is because this is a culture that starts from the basis of fear and subservience to the government. And it's not their fault. It's drilled into them from a very, very young age, for example, in places like China. And also the same thing in Japan in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, that's why you can have no guns and you don't have the same rates of crime, because people are terrified of their government. Their government is daddy. They control so many aspects of life because it's been given up a very long time ago. This is the only country left where that isn't the case. And if we are going to be bringing in people from other countries, they need to understand it is foundational to this country. You're driving alone with a face shield, You should be deported.
Yes.
Goodbye.
I said yes far too quickly on that. I didn't know where you're going to stick the landing.
Yeah.
No, in South Korea, you're just trained not to question authority. And
Right.
case in point, I think it was in the 80s or early 90s. You can fact check me on it. A South Korean airline flew into the ground because they ran out of fuel and they didn't challenge the air traffic controller. I believe it was at one of the New York airports. I can't remember if it was LaGuardia or the other one, JFK. Literally, they're like, hey, did you tell them we're running out of fuel? And he's like, yeah, I told them we're running out of fuel. He's like, well, okay, I guess we're just going to crash and die. Instead of just like, that's the kind of cultural mindset. And you have to have the mindset of, if we don't protect our freedoms, they will eventually be taken by someone, whether that's the government or corporate or somebody else. It will be taken eventually by your neighbor. You have to protect your freedom and question authority. That's fine. You don't have to be belligerent towards authority. You just have to question.
Yeah, well, here we would
hold them accountable.
Some pilot or whatever, I don't know, a tarmac technician from Jersey at Spirit, he'd be like, hey, you dumb, you forgot to put gas in it.
Hey, we're about to run. He's literally said, he goes, they were talking about it, and the end result was, it was like the guy, the Jersey
about the Korean?
guy, the Jersey guy that was the air traffic controller was too brusque with them.
Wait, what are you talking about?
I was saying the guy communicating with the plane that crashed was so brusque with them, like he was just like so dismissive of them. They were like, well, yeah, I told him, but he was mean.
Oh, yeah. So, I noticed like when was in Australia about 10, 12 years ago?
Yeah, before COVID.
Yeah, and there's a lot of Asian people there. I was like, why are all these people wearing masks?
In Austria?
In Australia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Australia.
Well, they wear masks as part of the culture, right? Because the smog and everything. We've talked about that with the Olympics in China, and some of the athletes in the U.S. got booted off the team for wearing black masks when they got off the plane because the smog was so bad.
Well, they were skiing down a nuclear power plant.
That's true. That was the most recent one, though.
Chinese asshole.
That's also true.
They actually did. They were skiing down cold. No. Ignore 3-eye fish. Just ski. Go slide them.
You'll be fine.
Slide them down. Nuclear reactor.
Keep you warm.
We already run study. Very safe.
We already run study.
Ignore third nipple.
By the way, before we get into this next segment, we actually have a clip on how you're supposed to deal with a migrant who climbs a ladder.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
Yeah.
Careful, Austin.
That's essentially the same thing.
Well, yeah, if that's the instructional that they're watching.
No.
Yeah, just hand it.
No.
Yeah. I think it would have been a happier ending if he was shot. All right.
Yeah.
Yes. Hit the like button if you agree. Hey, that's me, Mr. Old Fashioned. People are afraid because they're afraid of being censored on YouTube. Hey, someone's climbing up a ladder to stab you and or your wife or girlfriend. The best outcome is shooting him.
Yeah. He would have shot him if he was white.
Oh, that's fair.
No, it's Sweden. I don't think they have.
They don't have guns, right?
Yeah, they don't have guns.
They pushed him if he was white.
They don't have guns in Sweden?
It's very limited, yeah.
I mean, they have guns, but they don't have like a Second Amendment right to
It's not
firearms.
the same thing as here. People are, you can be arrested in the UK if you act, even with a hunting rifle, if you defend your house. You will be the one who was arrested. I'm sorry, when people say you have a gun culture in the United States, well, I prefer that to that culture because you know what? At least a gun culture, and by the way, the murders, the homicides, when you take away the gun deaths, you take away the suicides, which we'll get into, when you take away the inter-gang related crime, your chances of being killed as a victim of gun violence, a homicide, are so tiny. Now,
don't forget the minorities.
Well, inter-urban, gang-related crime. Like, when they say, guns are the number one killer of children?
No, it's black people.
Wrong.
Take away 15 to 19-year-olds who are black boys in gangs.
Yeah.
It's not even close. When you're talking about the ages 0 through 12, it's drowning. It's basic accidents, automobile accidents. And the disservice that this does is it scares you into changing the wrong thing. Look, that culture in Sweden, it only gets worse. It only gets worse. We kind of have a cap here in the United States as to how bad it gets, as to how many migrants can rape people en masse. We're not going to have what happened in Cologne at the New Year's Eve party. Yeah, exactly. I would rather have a gun culture where you shoot that man he did stab the homeowner or renter. Yeah. I'd rather have that culture than defenseless innocent citizens. Why? Because I don't think all violence is equivalent. Violence is amoral. I can use this knife to stab a man as I parkour up his apartment complex, or I can use my gun to stop a man from raping my wife.
Yeah.
Violence is not all. That's why I have a problem with zero tolerance policies in school. It sends the wrong message. All right. And this brings us, while we're talking about violence, this is something that we've talked about this quite a bit. We've talked about it on the show and kind of touched on this, but we haven't really done one segment that is all-inclusive. And I think this is something that's pretty important because, like I talked about earlier in the show, we often discuss the idea of people getting help, of not stigmatizing mental health issues, of dealing with suicide in this problem, the suicide problem in this country, of dealing with isolation, especially after COVID. But then we also have the media browbeating the people, namely white men, who make up that statistic. It's not even close. So let me set this up for you. I'm not talking about that 92% of all workplace, Mike Tyson. 92% of all workplace deaths are men. Yeah. Okay? That's men of all different races. You know that. So when people talk about male privilege, all right, sweetheart, go work in a foundry. Now, when it comes to suicide in the United States, middle-aged white men are far and away the largest demographic. If you're going to solve the problem of suicide in this country, if you are serious about tackling it, you need to tackle the issue of white men. And they're totally ignored. And I tell you what, we exacerbate the problem in this country. All the feminists right now who get mad or say, oh, poor you as a white man. Yeah. Just be a little open-minded here because the numbers are irrefutable. Women, you're so oppressed that you do not commit suicide. Black men, it's not even close. Black women, it's not even close. Why, oh, why are white men, specifically middle-aged white men, committing suicide at astronomical rates?
Suicide is the 12th leading cause of death in the United States, and the highest rate of suicide is in middle-aged white men. In 2020, 69% of Americans who died by suicide were white men.
Yeah. So let me give you a couple of brief statistics. So in the United States, suicides total were 49,000, okay, in 2022. White men, 68% of that. Okay, and I think they make up somewhere between 20-something and 30-something percent of the population. So more than double their percentage of the population. White males, 4 times more likely to commit suicide than white females. White males, 9 times more likely to commit suicide than black Americans, just to be clear. Which brings me to another key fact here, fact number 2. I think there are a few reasons for this. Straight white men are often ignored, just to be clear. So those facts exist. All the references are available at louderwithcrowder.com. Now let's say why, and is there something that we can do about this? And this is the problem, right, when people, the patronizing, right, the sarcasm that takes place, oh, poor baby, you've had it hard as a straight white man. Do you have any idea what it's like? And then insert whatever oppression that day that you got passed over for a promotion, or that you have to choose between being a stay-at-home mom versus a career. Well, it must be nice to have a choice. That's a big reason. Straight white men don't really have a choice. They have to work if they want to. They want to find a wife, period. They don't get to be a stay-at-home dad. So straight white men are often ignored. So let me give you some examples here. The U.S. government, the Suicide Lifeline, they list very specific resources regarding suicide for every group except white males.
Wow.
Every group except white males.
Ridiculous.
Oh, poor baby. Group. Yeah, poor baby. It's the suicide stat. There's no getting away from it. Let's look at Google Trends. Women's suicide and LGBT suicide, they trend far, far higher than white male suicide. Here's another one. We have another graph, Google Ngram trends, okay? Female suicide has been written about to an incredible amount. Yeah, there you go. Look at that spread compared to white male suicide. So the writing and the resources are all directed towards a statistical group, women, who are 4 times less likely to commit suicide. And by the way, when they attempt suicide, they don't succeed.
Right.
Because men finish the job.
Yeah, women can't do nothing right.
Walked right into that. Come on.
But in other words, all of these resources are made available. Why? Because of the oppression Olympics. That it's women, it's black people, it's Stop Asian Hate. Well, hold on a second. You want to deal with suicide? It's not even close. The trend goes all the way back, by the way, to the 19th century. And as far as how it manifests itself in dealing with largely straight white men, I think we all know how the left thinks.
Yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell.
Well, come on.
Come on. That's rude.
It's very rude.
Yeah, it's just
It is rude.
You call the suicide hotline and you hear that.
And I was going through this myself, going, what are the reasons? Well, there are a few different reasons. Let's go to another key fact, number 3. And you guys can, I know this is very white male centric, but you guys can obviously jump in.
Yeah.
White men stay silent.
Tell me about white people.
Yes. Well, here's the one thing I will say. There's a lot of shame in the community. People always talk about shame, like, you shouldn't be ashamed of anything. We need to do away with shame. Usually that means there's a fat broad with a hip-hop video, or it means that there's some girl who slept with half the Oakland Raiders and doesn't want to be slut-shamed. Guess what? White men, we're shamed no matter what. That's a fact. White men accept the shame. And by the way, they're also not comfortable. This kind of shocked me. I knew that white men would be less likely to seek therapy than, let's say, white women, but whites in general are less likely to speak to health professionals about mental illness compared with Black Americans or Latinos, and white men are far less likely to seek any kind of mental health assistance when compared to women. And I can imagine why, because it's, you have such a hard time, Mr. Patriarchy. Again, look at the people who go into psychology, right? It's basically feminism run amok. That's how you end up with the DSM-5, switching gender dysphoria from a disorder to the symptoms of being born in a wrong body. White men, often feel like failures. The reason they feel like failures is because there are very high societal expectations. They want to be providers, right? And if they don't provide or they get laid off, that's a huge contributing factor to people committing suicide.
That's what I was thinking. Mm-hmm. If you're a white man, which I'm not, if you
are
considered you are deemed to, if you're not successful, you're a total failure.
Right.
Like twice the failure.
Yeah, it really is. And you're not going to change that. What men in general, especially decent men, they want to provide, right? We want to provide. We want to keep our families safe. But things happen. Sometimes you get some tough breaks.
Yeah. And then there's staggeringly few resources available that cater to white men. Now, look, we're not laying the victim card on ourselves here. What we're saying is if you're really looking to fix this problem, you've got to focus on the group that accounts for almost 70% of the problem.
Yes.
Right? And not completely leave them out. So white man gets fired and he's 51 years old. What are the resources for that? Of course you're going to feel helpless.
We have resources to get him fired. That's the point.
Well,
we have resources with affirmative action or with diversity quotas. We have resources to ensure that white men lose their jobs. And just to be clear, this is a statistical reality. I'm not saying that white men have it harder than every or any other group. I am saying that white men off themselves to a number that is alarming and irrefutable. And what do leftists say? They say, well, white men just can't cope in current society. Your time's up. So what do leftists really think?
What is it you want us to do?
This is what I'm saying. There's no talking with these people.
At least it's honest. I mean,
the good news is, though, one of the resources is a strong support network of friends is very important and can help a tremendous amount.
My finger's on the trigger. Don't try to stop me, Smee.
Oh, not again.
This is it. Don't try to stop me this time, Smee. Don't try to stop me this time, Smee. Don't you dare try to stop me this time, Smee. Try to stop me. Smee, you better get up off your ass. Get over here, Smee.
I'm coming.
Smee, this is not a joke.
So confusing.
And you know what? Hey, do me a favor. If you think that this is an issue that needs to be discussed more, hit the like button and comment below if you've been affected by suicide. Because a lot of the hotlines that exist actually don't actually exist to help support white males, and we'll get to that in a second. And I hate pulling identity politics here, but the reason that it matters is because white men are often singled out. Look, there are a lot of issues that contribute to a higher likelihood of suicide. Losing your job is one of them, okay? Being divorced is one of them. When up to 80% of divorces are currently filed by women in domestic abuse or infidelity are not even the top 5 reasons listed. If it's about 80% if there's a college degree, it's about 68% if there isn't. So divorce increases it if you're abandoned. Losing your job increases it. Not having a strong circle of friends. Well, for the same reason that men make up 92% of workplace deaths, huge part of men's social circle and their friends are their work colleagues. That's a big way that men find purpose. So you can lose all of it, right? This is not an atypical story. Man loses his job. He now loses touch with his friends. He can't provide, and his woman leaves him. It's not like that doesn't happen all the time. Yeah. That man is hanging by a thread. And if you know that person, please reach out and help them. This brings us to another key fact, number 4. And this is the anti-white male culture that we deal with in media. So you have the mainstream media, of course, they're always praising single moms, right? It's the single moms. Here's from Huffington Post. These are some headlines here. Let us now praise single moms. And there's another one. Single moms need to praise themselves. Here's why. And here's 7 damn good reasons to date a single mom. Hey, you ever get an article like that as a man? Like, hey, you Black twins need to praise themselves. Here's why. 7 damn good reasons to date a man who doesn't pay alimony. Like, this is... Men don't get the passes, and specifically white men do not get the free passes that women do. Joe Rogan made this point on body positivity, but we'll get into it a little more.
You know who doesn't get any of that body positivity though? Is men. Nobody gives a about men. If men are fat, you're just fat.
And here's a recent article from, what is this? What is the AFRU, just to be clear?
AFRU.
AFRU, I forget what the acronym is for.
I have no idea.
It says body positivity is for women, not lazy white guys with dad bods. Okay, just to be clear also, the term dad bod has expanded dramatically. It means any man who does not have a reptilian six-pack like an Instagram influencer.
Right.
Like, oh, you have 12% body fat? Dad bod. You're Lizzo.
Is there a mom bod?
Hey, look, let me give you an example. It's, you're beautiful no matter what size you are to women. Do men get that? Hey, where's the fat pride male model? And by the way, we don't want one. We don't, just to be clear.
Yeah.
You know what we say to our fat friend? We're like, hey, Chubby over here. He's probably nicknamed Chubby.
Yeah, no guy wants that.
No guy wants that because we know that women don't want that, right? And we don't get to lie and declare ourselves beautiful, and we don't have society declaring us beautiful. I had one woman say, well, it's okay for men to be fat, not for women. I said, okay, give me some examples. Well, there are plenty of successful fat men. I go, right, but who's the equivalent to a Tess Holliday or like a Lizzo or what's happened with Swimsuit, Sports Illustrated, I guess, the swimsuit edition. She said, well, think about people like, you have Chris Farley, you could have Jonah Hill, you could have John Candy. I go, Those people are some of the most talented men on earth, and they're not sex symbols. No. They're popular because they're funny.
Yeah.
They're popular because they're talented. They're not praised for being beautiful. That's the difference. Women are praised no matter what they do, and men are often shamed no matter what they do, particularly white males. This is a fact, and even if you don't agree with all of the other facts being presented here, all references are available. There is no getting around the suicide statistic. Body positivity, this quote, is for women, not lazy white guys with dad bods. This person specifically wrote white guys, and you never really hear about black guys having dad bod because they have access to weights in the prison yard.
Let them burn off all that energy.
They're black. They can say whatever they want.
Oh, that's true. I forgot.
I just don't understand why it's like, hey, this guy's in here for murder. He gets out in 15. Well, what do you think we should do? I don't know. Is there any way for us to make him more athletic and explosive? Let's get him a squat rack. I mean, get him like some gimp. Make some bracelets, right? Calm him down. Don't give him iron to pump.
Crochet.
Yeah, but then you have the needles. Jeez. So here's some more headlines. Here's from Medium. Body positive is for women only.
Wow.
Now let's look at some of the movements that we've had. Again, if you're a man in this country, let alone a white man. Remember we had the hashtag Believe All Women? And you don't really hear about what happened after, UVA, Rolling Stone. Remember the mattress girl? That ruined that man's life. He didn't rape her. She was trying to rape him. The Duke lacrosse team, of course, they were fleeced, and they never get their reputation back. And that brings us back to shame. You know what really matters to a lot of men out there, particularly white men who've been working? Their name. The way that you ruin their life is not just by taking their money, it's by taking their name. And it's never been easier to take someone's name and reputation than today in social media. We had the hashtag #MeToo. Let's use that as a perfect example. You had Christine Blasey Ford. Remember, she made up everything about Brett Kavanaugh. Everything. What she told the Washington Post didn't make sense. It wasn't in line or consistent with what she told the police officers. That wasn't consistent with what she told their friends. And even if you added it all up, she claimed to be raped at a party that didn't happen in a house that didn't even exist. And Brett Kavanaugh kept a journal his entire life. So it was all made up. The man's reputation was destroyed. Still destroyed if you read right now. Some people say this rapist, Brett Kavanaugh. Yeah. No punishment. That man lost his name. I know what you'll say. Well, he's in the Supreme Court. Guess what? That's not enough. Guess what?
No.
Guarantee you he has to live with this shit for the rest of his life. And men out there who don't have the resources and who aren't appointed to the Supreme Court, they just lose their name and their circle and their friends.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they think that a shotgun in their mouth is a way out. And statistically, it's a problem that we're not dealing with because the feminists out there and the victim complex, the professional victims, want you to ignore it.
Yeah, they get shunned by society as a deadbeat,
right?
In those situations, right? And Brett Kavanaugh's kids, by the way, they're going to deal with the fact
they're going to deal with that.
Their dad had his name dragged through the mud. Now I don't know what ages they are, but if they're in school still, it's going to get brought up all the time, and it doesn't even matter if they're in the workplace. It's going to get brought up. It's never going to be the same again. And men desire above almost all else. I think you can probably look at the polls and see this. Like respect is one of the top things that men want, not demand, but just want, right? They want to have respect. They want to be able to have that respect from people. Now, they feel like they have to earn it, and that's fine. We have to earn that respect. All of this takes that away.
Yeah.
You have no respect. You have no name. You're a deadbeat. You're a useless person to society. And by the way, nobody's coming to your aid to help you get out of there.
Right.
So what's the point?
Yeah. If you're a woman and your BMI is, it can't even. We have to put you on the Free Willy scale. Hey, you're beautiful. If a man gets a couple of love handles because he's been laid off and he's been having to eat at Taco Bell for a bit, oh, you're a lazy white guy with dad bod. This is the browbeating that takes place. Again, it's not that they're just ignoring, right? There are no resources on the government hotline for white men. It doesn't exist. But it's that they also attack you. And this one is funny to me when I sort of did a deep dive into the rabbit hole. They tried to tie men's rights directly to white supremacy. This is straight from Salon, April 2023. It says, War on Women, the link between white supremacy, men's rights, and anti-abortion politics.
What? They tied all three of those things together?
And you know what's crazy? The men's rights community, it was most black men.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a huge component for black men who talk about women, who didn't want to marry them, who want child support, who use it not for the children. There's a huge component in the black community. I mean, you have shows. You have a Fit and Fresh show. I just forgot. I'm sorry, the name of the man who passed away. What was
Joe Stedix?
No, the Samuel. What is Sam?
Oh yeah, I know
Samuels?
you're talking about Kevin Samuels.
Kevin Samuels.
Yeah.
Right. There are a lot of people like this. So. They just ignore it when it's convenient. War on Women, the link between white supremacy, men's rights, and anti-abortion politics. So what will happen is if anyone talks about this, right, if we say, hey, men are offing themselves in alarming numbers, really? You're one of those men's rights, white supremacists? Okay, so you have that. You're saying Salon. That's extreme, right? I'm a centrist. All right, let's go to as mainstream as you can possibly get, where every single time, and I'm speaking in extremes here, but most times, let's call it 90%, the white guy shows up in the commercial. He's the idiot who can't install blinds, or worse.
Use it to make a white wine spritzer, perfect for hanging out with 2 chains.
I love your rap music.
I have a helicopter.
Ooh.
We should be going. You don't like boats? I like boats, and I love all these 7-Up mixed drinks.
Is this the best a man can get?
Kiss cam's on the prowl again. Here's a likely couple. Oh no.
Man, what the fuck?
Did someone say KFC?
You know what? I never noticed this shit.
Yeah. Also, by the way, if you watch a lot of like the Home Alarm commercials, was it Simply Safe? It's a white guy in a hipster mustache breaking in at 2 a.m.
Yeah, I saw that.
Just let that sit for a second.
Yeah, you can go back to the black and white and the gray issues. Remember that one black guy said, why, we're the ones who are painted negatively in advertising. This black guy said this. I said, really? I mean, come on, we're the ones always painted as criminals. He goes, well, because you can't make it a black guy. You'd be really stepping into some trouble. I said, okay, so you acknowledge it. He goes, yeah, pretty much. Because it's the one group that's the white man can be the butt of the joke no matter what it is. And Nick DiPaolo, I don't know if we have the right clip here, but he started doing this 12, 15 years ago. This is why I say you can watch him on MugClub, 5 p.m. Eastern. It is a strong R. This guy is the OG. There's a reason that everyone in comedy will tell you, yeah, he's probably the best working stand-up comic today. People will tell you that, or at least top 5. He talked about these kinds of ads 15 years ago.
Every commercial is gender neutral. Every commercial has to be gender neutral. I heard this on the radio today, okay? I swear to God. The men and women have to be equal no matter what the commercial is. This is the commercial. It goes, 1 in 4 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer this year. But prostate cancer affects you too, ladies. It does? We can't even have that to ourselves?
Oh, we didn't include the rest of it. It gets hilarious.
Probably because we're not a strong R.
Yeah, we're not. No, but he had a bit 15 years ago. I remember where he said he was talking about AOL Online. He goes, there's this commercial for AOL Online. It says, it's so easy, even my dad can use it. You mean the guy who bought the computer, you selfish little bitch? Every time we show up, and I get it, look, you may say, oh, who cares about a commercial? No, it's the commercials. It's the headlines. It's the body positivity. It's the fact that the government doesn't provide any resources for white men. At a certain point, it adds up to the statistic that you really wish would go away. White men commit suicide, white women don't, black people don't. It's just a fact, statistically. It's not even close.
So it's systemic racism against white men. Technically.
I wouldn't say it's systemic. It's a cultural allowance, I should
If this was happening to black people, it's systemic racism. You forget, Stephen, they changed the definition of racism.
That's true. I forgot.
No, but it's got to be it's against people of color, though. We have no color.
Yeah, if the roles were reversed and black men was committing suicide,
they would call it
and you could go back to these commercials. Oh, you best believe they said it's racist.
If black men were committing suicide at 9 times the rate of whites, because that's what's happening. White men 9 times the rate.
9.
They say it's systemic because a lot of black people in jail. They're not in there for being black.
Generally speaking. I mean, I'm sure there are probably a couple. I saw Hurricane.
Gotta be. I've seen a couple of white guys go to jail that was sentenced.
I've seen
I'm sure it happened. I saw one Asian guy.
What?
Yeah.
It
happens. It happens.
One.
Just one?
One.
Boom, boom, go!
They call that the Asian block. Yeah, it's old Asian block D, the one Asian guy.
Has the whole block to himself.
There's actually a Twitter profile, Stupid White Ads, that exists, and the guy compiles dumb white guy ads. I guess he has over 80 just since June of this year alone, so you can go and check it out. And this is it's just fashionable in general. And I'm not saying that this is the primary reason, but it's fashionable in general just to take a crap on men, including, men of all races. We know that, right? Because even if you watch, I remember I was watching Parks and Rec, and Rec, and someone said, "Oh, men's rights," and Amy Poehler said, "That's not a thing. It's not a thing. There's no such thing." Really? Well, we'll get into alimony. We'll get into what happens as far as custody and child abuse. But this is what they say. It's just, there's no white men can't because they're in a position of power, so it's okay to dump on them, which is, by the way, they've been remaking popular films. You see this. The only thing that they're doing, think of the message is, oh, Ghostbusters, we're going to turn Ghostbusters into all women. Oh, because that means that white men, and by the way, also black men in Ghostbusters, that means that men are a problem. Ocean's 8, well, because Ocean's 11, even though it did have women, and even though it did have black, it had men. So men are the problem. And there's even this new gym that redoing Fight Club, which is not, I mean, hey.
I won't. Mm-mm.
First rule of all-female Fight Club is bitch, bitch, bitch. Second rule is, there is no second rule. It's just the first rule. It's just... This brings us to another key fact here, number 5. And I'm hoping that, we make all the references available, and there's a lot here to dive into because I want you to be able to use this in the future. And I particularly hope that this helps with the demographic that commits suicide out there, know that they are not alone, and there are resources. So let's look at some of the policy as it relates to systemic discrimination. Criminal sentencing, right? Female offenders of all races receive far shorter sentences for similar crimes than white male offenders. Wow. Let's look at custody and child support. The mother is the custodial parent 80% of the time. And by the way, it is not just because the men don't want the children. The courts just assume that it's better for the mom to get the children. Even if the women leave 68% of the time, if they have a college degree, it's about 80% of divorces are filed by women. And domestic abuse, infidelity are not even the top 5 reasons listed. Then you look at the fact that mothers, when they're divorced, receive far more child support than men on average. Alimony, 98% of people in this country who receive alimony are women. And this is, here's something that may shock you. All of this is based on a system, a court system that says, well, the woman should get alimony, the woman should get child support because women, mothers, are inherently altruistic. Men are violent, and so they shouldn't be the single parent or the custodian. Well, the fact is single mothers abuse children at 2 times the rate of single fathers.
Jeez.
I think it's somewhere, the estimates are anywhere from 1.3 to 2.2. Let's round it, 2 times the rate. We'll do a whole segment on that too. I'm not comparing joint couple households to single mothers. Single mothers to single fathers. In a single father household, they're less likely to be abused, less likely to develop a substance disorder, less likely to go into sex work, more likely to graduate high school. But the system says, hey, you owe mom money, and mom gets the kids. And by the way, even if she is abusing, the amount of proof, the burden of proof that is required is insurmountable. Again, is this a situation that you've never heard of happening? Man gets fired and his wife leaves him. All of those things contribute to a massively disproportionate risk of suicide. And we have policies, concepts entirely that have been weaponized against white men, and they've been increasingly forced upon all of us. I mean, for crying out loud, white men in the United States have to deal with Larry Fink.
At BlackRock, we are forcing behaviors. 54% of the incoming class are women. We added 4 more points in terms of diverse employment this year. And what we are doing
that just means not white men.
If you don't achieve these levels of impact, your compensation could be impacted, okay?
We're doing the same thing.
And so it's just, you have to force behaviors.
You have to force behaviors. And so here's what happens, right? If you're, and by the way, this applies to men in general, but I will say this particularly white men for the same reason that there are no grants, there are no scholarships, there are no subsidies just based on being a white man. Just let's do the flip side. There are scholarships and grants that exist just for being black. There are grants, scholarships, or for example, requirements just for being a woman, just for being Asian, just for being a black woman. The only place where it doesn't exist, there is no leg up subsidy grant that exists just for being a white man. It's the one group. You combine that with the fact that the suicide resource line from our government provides some kind of catered resources to every demographic except white men. Well, here's the thing. Men feel isolated. And if men want to speak out, particularly white men, you just heard that from Larry Fink, what happens is they create these concepts. Oh, no, white male supremacy. That's one. And then it's, no, wait, white supremacy. Then it's white privilege. You have to check your privilege. Then it's the overall privilege of whiteness in general. Then there are things like social justice. Then there are issues like unconscious bias. Then there's DEI. Right? Then there's systemic rape. No matter where you are as a white male, you are told you can't, really want to complain because you haven't had it good for so long? And so white men suffer in silence and die.
Yeah, and Larry Fink, when he made that comment, the other, I believe, CEOs on that panel that we're talking right there, immediately one of them felt the need and also felt that it was socially acceptable to do it, to jump in and say, yeah, we're doing the same thing too.
Right.
That was the expectation. And by the way, white men are just, listen, I understand that point that people are like, oh, white men, you haven't had it hard. I don't understand it being true. I understand why they would say that, because society tells you that white people have it very easy. They put out all of these fake statistics that we come back and kind of debunk a little bit. But I've got some personal experience with this. Like I've got people in my family who have been in their 50s that have lost their job, that are white men, and they have gone out and said, you know what, the only unprotected class in the United States is straight, white, middle-aged males. Now, you could probably expand it to just be outside of middle age as well and still be accurate, but when you feel like the entire system, not that they don't have your back, because I'm willing to work for it, and I believe most of those guys are willing to work for it. They're actively looking at you as the problem, though. It's not just you don't get the services, it's you're part of the problem just for being a straight, white, middle-aged male.
Yeah. We have people, by the way, out in this office who worked at major companies who were punished, lost their job just because they were a white male.
We have white males.
We have some.
We've almost, not anymore. Not after this show.
No, not after this show. Hey, look, and I want to ask you and comment below, because I'm going to explain to you, this is where I'll put my Alex Jones hat on. By the way, Mug Club, every Friday, you get to watch Alex Jones here if you sign up. But before I get there, why do you think all of this is happening? I'll give you a breakdown as to a hunch. But to give you this was a story. I played hockey with this guy's kids. This is in Montreal. There used to be a place called the Eaton Center. People, if you're in Montreal, you know what I'm talking about. It's like they call it the second city. So in Montreal, there's a whole second city that goes multiple floors. I don't know if it's 5 floors, 4 floors, 6 floors down underground.
It's because it's so cold there.
It's so cold. No, it really is. It's so cold. So you can go from subway stop to, you can do your groceries. You can shop. There's a food court, movie theater, and you never actually have to, pop your head up.
Underground?
Yeah, underground.
Negative 30.
Yeah. So there's this place, the Eaton Center, and they're, it goes, picture it going down, almost looks like Blade Runner. I think they actually might have filmed, someone can let me know if that's true, Blade Runner at some areas in this underground area of Montreal. And there was a man who, something happened, I believe he lost his I don't want to give details, so I'll change some identities here, but I played hockey with his kids. There was a man who lost his job, and he ran a business, and it was basically going to blow up, and I think he was maybe in trouble with some taxes, something like that. And he did. He killed himself, and everyone was shocked. I remember this because everyone was shocked. But then they looked on the security cameras at the Eaton Center. Now, he threw himself off the railing down, I believe, 4 stories and landed in the food court, which I think someone yelled, "Check, please."
Ruined lunch.
Yeah.
Oh, check, please.
I said, "No human," in my hoagie, but he jumped.
Dark.
Yeah, there you go. So from the top there, you can't even see. So top
That
jumped
looks
all
like
the way
further,
down.
yeah.
That's all that's underground, or most of it. And everyone was shocked. And I remember us all going, I can't believe that happened. But then they looked at the security camera footage. And they found him for at least a week before he actually jumped, walking that railing, pacing. For a week. That man, that white man, what a piece of shit, who went out and he struck out. And maybe he didn't pay some taxes. Maybe he made some mistakes, sure. But that man couldn't talk to anyone about it. He lived in his own personal hell before. He decided that it was better for his family than to shame them, than to lose his reputation and tell them they would have to move into another house, and then flung himself over. That is, just so you, that seems dramatic because of how he did it. That is most suicides in this country. It's middle-aged white men who have lost their circle of friends, largely because they've lost their job, and they have been left. They have been abandoned by a system that says that they should start off from the default position of being a villain. So why does a system exist this way? Why do we have not just the divorce system, not just divorce family courts, which we've talked about, not just DEI, not just affirmative action, but culturally? Why do all of these things seem to culminate in the group of people who kill themselves? Well, it's one group in this country that consistently, reliably, never votes for the leftist agenda. 2020, white men voted Republican 61% versus 38% who didn't. 92% of conservative white men, by the way, voted for Donald Trump. Of course, conservatism champions the nuclear family. Right? They think that's really important. They call this white supremacy. They call this alt-right at one point, once that didn't stick. We actually had, it's coming up this Friday, actually, a new Black and White on the Gray issues. It was a mother and her daughter, the only group of black individuals who decided that merely talking was racist. And they said that the nuclear family, I shit you not, they said the nuclear family is a construct of white supremacist patriarchy.
What?
This is what is being taught in your schools. You were there, Toolman.
Yeah, well, they say that while being in a nuclear family.
I know.
So F off.
They were basically white suburban broads who happened to be black.
Yes.
Went to private school, and the private
Exactly.
school told her the nuclear family is a construct of patriarchy. But typically speaking, you look at one voting bloc who people talk about, hey, maybe there'll be some inroads made with black Americans. Hey, Latinos are voting Republican more than before. It's pretty much white males. Once they get beyond the age of 35, they're going to be the consistent conservative voting bloc. The left hasn't even really tried to reach them. They try to do it with white privilege. They try to do it. But it is the last defense is white males in this country, if you look as a voting bloc, against overarching government, in preserving the First Amendment, in preserving the Second Amendment, in believing in nuclear families, believing in strong male figures, believing in, complementarianism in relationships. And that same demographic is attacked relentlessly from all fronts, from the government, from your media, from culture at large, to the point that they commit suicide at 4 times the rate of women and 8 to 9 times the rate of black Americans. Hey, I'm just saying, at a certain point, right, statistics can be massaged, but there's kind of some finality to suicide, isn't there? I'd like you to comment here below really quickly, but whoever you've had the unfortunate experience of maybe being touched by suicide. I think all of us have been touched by suicide or attempted suicide somewhere in our lives. Again, 92% of workplace deaths are men. That's a fact. And then white males specifically, 70% of the suicides, despite being about 30% of the population. 5 times the rate compared to white women, or 4 times the rate. 9 times the rate compared to black Americans. It's a real problem. It's a real problem. And the good news is it's the easiest problem to start solving. It really is. Now, on a macro level, it needs to start with listening. It needs to start with, hey, hold on a second. We can't just say that white men shouldn't complain about their problems. They seem to be legitimate. Well, why do you think they're legitimate? Because they're killing themselves. In other words, they're not writing an article. They don't have a Substack. They don't have a Tumblr. They're not going on Instagram to bitch. They're blowing their heads off because of their problems, and we're telling them that their problems aren't real. Think about that for a second. So what can you do on an individual level? Look, like we've said, the enemy of joy is isolation. It's not good for man to be alone. That starts in Genesis, by the way. That's why, sexist, God gave man woman. They were meant to be together because it's not good for man to be alone. So please, if you are considering this, or you think that, it's a cliche, but it really is true. Don't turn to a permanent solution for a temporary problem. Get involved with local community groups. Reach out to church leaders. Reach out to friends and family. Reach out to people who, by the way, will actually listen and not ask you to check your white privilege. I'm going to tell you this. If you're a white male and you are actually thinking about harming yourself, don't go to someone who's going to guilt you for simply being a white male. Get involved with maybe some men's rights groups. There are those that exist out there, single dads groups. I know the left right now will try and throttle us and say that that's white male supremacy. What I'm saying is you need to discuss this problem with people who have been through it and people who can provide you support and not tell you that you're just a lazy white guy with dad bod, which maybe means you have, oh my God, gone through the horror of ballooning up to 13% body fat. Hey, do a DEXA scan with the bitch who told you that. Let's see how it turns out. Hit the like button, comment below. Let's get her in the saline pool. It's go. What are you about to say?
I was going to say, by the way,
so I know it got a little serious. We'll get back. We're going to play Hate Symbol or Not on MugClub, but I just with the Hodgetwins. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we're all going to a place that I don't want to go. That's very hot. No, look, we have to address
Algeria.
No, South Africa.
Africa.
I said South Africa.
Oh, okay.
Different. No, I think it's important to do that. I wasn't kidding. I've had this person that I mentioned too that had an issue that is a family member of ours and felt like suicidal ideation, suicidal thoughts, had all kinds of like, well, my life is over. I had a successful career. Now what do I do? And it's very difficult. So I'm glad that we dove into it and used numbers that are irrefutable. So I hope people take this very seriously. I know we went long today covering it, but that's okay, right? This is a very, very big issue. One thing I do want to say though is that you're wrong, Stephen. Black and White airs on Thursday, not Friday.
Oh, did I say Friday?
You did say Friday.
Admonish me really quickly, guys. Admonish me.
But it's fun to admonish.
Admonish me.
Admonishing is loving.
Admonish.
Again?
Are you getting sucked off?
No, stop it. It's admonishing.
I was admonished.
Admonish the twins.
Yes, admonish the twins.
Yeah, admonish Keith.
Okay, stop. Don't go to. Nope.
What Stephen did.
Don't do it.
No.
See, he gets.
I just bit my lips. I was being playful. You were being vulgar.
Yeah, and black.
Yeah.
It's black?
And look, we went long. We were able to discuss this. Look, I will tell you this. We had Cassie J on the show, Karen Strawn, very long, before people were talking about this. Those episodes always get throttled.
Yeah.
It's considered hateful for men to simply discuss these issues. That's why we have MugClub. We can talk about it, and hey, maybe it'll be throttled down to only 50,000 plays and credit. I don't give a rat's ass. If that reaches 40,000 people who need to hear it, do consider supporting it. LouderWithCreditor.com/MugClub, or you can watch the free portion Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. Right now, we're going to play Hate Symbol or Not. Or you know what? Maybe let's see what the chats are. Maybe people want to talk about the suicide issue more today, considering that it was a bit of I hate to use the term deep dive. We always use the term meat segment, but now the popular term is deep dive.
Deep dive, yeah.
Let's unpack this.
Let's delve into this.
Yes, exactly.
Listen, I don't like that you're appropriating a white voice while doing that as well.
Hey, you guys do black, Asian, Mexican, all this.
That's fair.
Well, every black comedian does their white guy voice. Where they do the voice like this. We all talk like this.
The banana and the tailpipe.
Banana and the tailpipe. All right.
But white people don't talk like that.
I know, we don't.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's what I needed to hear.
Black people. Rumble, thank you. You can hit that button, join MugClub and YouTube. We know that this segment probably got your goat. Piss off.